All right, Shane, ¿listo ahora sí? Ahora sí.
Let's do this.
Let's do this, sir. All right, so Shane Martinez.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. No, thank you for coming. Like I was telling you earlier, when I DM you and you reply within a couple of hours, I was like, wasn't expecting that. Especially like I was telling you, this is episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's an honor.
No, thank you so much. I mean, I wasn't expecting you to respond, or maybe say, you know what, maybe when you have a couple down the line to see what type of questions you ask. What if I'm a spy for Robert Samaniego? You don't know that, right?
No,
for
you know
what?
You know what? When we had talked, the whole shutdown started happening again. The second shutdown, and that was like I put all my plans, like erased everything and focused on the business. You know.
No, and of course, and then when that happened, I was like, okay, of course and then I see you all over the news, your wife and yourself very busy with what was happening. But then I was like, oh, then for sure we have to have a conversation with them. So thank you so much. Let me tell you a little bit about the purpose of this podcast. And that is just to highlight, and not only highlight, but also share the stories of people making a positive impact in this community. Nice. I'll be honest with you. When I opened this business, this hair salon, I opened about a year and a couple of months ago. I had a plan of having kind of like a networking event with business owners, but from this area. The networking events that I usually see, it's from all over, and of course it's good, but I wanted to not only just meet someone, but I wanted to see if we had kind of like a workforce of, okay, we're in this zip code, all of us in this area, like what can I help you with? Yes. What can you help me with? And then later on, because of shutdown, I was listening to a lot of podcasts, especially from Monterrey, Mexico, and I was like, hey, there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of things going on around that. It sucks that here in El Paso, there's maybe there's not a lot of people doing things for the community, but there is. Like the truth is there is. Once you start checking, once you start seeing what's around, you're like, oh, okay. So I wanted this be kind of like a forum, again, to highlight those people, and also to kind of like share the stories of what is it that they did to become, I'm not going to say successful, but definitely someone that makes an impact. In your case, definitely can say both, but also an impact in our community, right? I'll be honest with you as well. This is a great excuse for me to network with great individuals such as yourself.
Thank you.
To get best practices, not only for my business, but for my personal life. So once again, I just want to say thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
No, of course. So, Senor, let's get started. I've been following you for a while now. I watched a podcast that you did for Edward Beck. I follow him on Instagram, on Facebook. He accepted my what is it called? My request.
Yes.
He doesn't know who I am, you know. But then I was just thinking about it, kind of like the impact that we don't even know that can cause. For example, this interview. In that case, when he did that podcast, I don't remember how long ago that was. But that, I'm like, oh, that's so cool on his side doing that. And also, oh my God, like, I really, I think I can kind of like ask you some follow-up questions. Your story was really neat. Your personality, I'm like, oh, for sure, you know. And maybe when they're doing that, or in this case that I'm going to have maybe a couple views, all of them from my mom, by the way, most likely, and myself, but you know who we're going to impact, right?
Yes.
And if best case scenario, worst case scenario, you already have impacted me big time. I want to share a quick story before we get started with the interview. So when you first got into the hair salon, right, when we were just prepping, I was prepping the camera, I was prepping my stuff. I was telling you just that, oh, you know what, I really follow Lucha Libre, and it's kind of like my goal to have Cinta de Oro on the podcast. And you're like, oh, I know this guy, let me call him right now. And you were talking to me like, hey, by the way, here's this person that that's doing a podcast, and he will like to have you here. And he, not that he agreed because it wasn't official, but like he was open to the idea. And I'm like, oh my God, that's kind of like the reason why I'm doing this podcast. And it worked before even starting. So thank you again. Yes. So with that, sir, again, I've been following for a while. Tell me a little bit, a quick bio, brief intro into who Shane Martinez is.
Well, I grew up in Juarez, 18 years, but I went to school here in El Paso almost all my life after third grade. Make a long story short, I played football, went to college, played football there. Came back to UTEP after 2 years. I was like, this football thing is not happening. I started doing personal training while I was going to school, going to UTEP Criminal Justice, and I graduated got a job, like a 9 to 5 job, and I just felt like empty, like voided. I was in a little cubicle for 3 years, and I was just like feeling like when I was a personal trainer, I was making more of an impact on a person. You just feel like they're life changing. And when I was there in the finance department, just looking at bank contracts, I'm like, I'm not making an impact on anybody. And I would just daydream on how my life was when I was making an impact on somebody. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go back to personal training. Like, I don't know, just crazy. I'm going to just start treating it like a business instead of a job, you know? So I started doing it again, and it just took off. Why? Because I feel like I appreciated it more because I had, lost it for 3 years. And when you're passionate about something, you do the job you love and you'll never work a day in your life, And for the first time in my life, I go smiling to work and I leave smiling. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's not a job. Like, somebody tells me, don't you get tired of opening the gym at 4 a.m.? I'm like, no, I'm actually like smiling when I'm driving. And I was like, wow. You know what I mean? That's when you know that you found your passion.
Wow. Now, I wanted to bring up the kind of like, I wanted to ask you questions. How is it that you started when you started your trainer, your trainer career? How long were you a trainer, by the way? Well, before opening your gym, you still a trainer.
I've been doing it since I was 19, and I'm 40 right now, on and off 18 years. And I started personal training, and every gym that I'd go to, I just would find stuff that I didn't like about it. Like, I wanted to be like a perfectionist, like, I don't know, like respect towards girls. I wouldn't see that. I would be like seeing guys checking out girls, not bothering them. The gym was dirty. There was not a friendly environment. So after a couple of years, I started telling my girlfriend back when she was also personal training. I told, you know what, we just open a little small gym, like tiny little place, just me and you, just do like personal training, just our clients. But I told her, you know what, but before we start, let's go to Juarez. This is a story I tell all my trainers. So we go to Juarez, and I take it to a restaurant, and it's a real nice restaurant, La Diana. I don't know if you've been to it. And the waiter came to our table like 5 times. Do you need anything? This and that, blah, blah, blah. And then my wife was like, you know what? I think they think we're rich. And I'm like, no, that's customer service in Mexico. Like, sometimes I've had the experience in the U.S. that the waiters feel like they're doing you a favor. But when you go to Mexico, it's like they'll serve you. Do you need anything? No matter what. They work for it, So I told my wife, my girlfriend back then, I told her that's the type of customer service that we want at our gym. And she's like, okay, I got it. Just by seeing that with her own eyes, she's like, I see what you want to do. And when you come to our gym, none of the trainers use their phones. You get your towel, we stretch you out, we give you your weights. We just like baby the person. We'll talk to the person's family about their eating habits. We just make an impact on people like that.
Wow. And you can tell, and I want to talk a little bit about how the community that you guys have built, recently, obviously they were able to come to your aid to help you out, and we'll talk about that, but I want to go a little bit back that you talked about impact, right? How, if you look back at, not a lot of people talked about that or felt that way, especially at 19, 20, 25. Looking back, how do you think that maybe that started? Kind of like, again, when I was that age, I was never thinking about helping others, maybe an impact, but it sounds like you, since the beginning, since you're a very young age, you are already into that kind of mindset.
It starts when somebody does that for you. Like, I remember I had a trainer who believed in me and told me, you're going to be a professional bodybuilder. And I was just like a skinny little kid, and I was just like, okay, And looking back right now, I'm telling you, I was 16. This is like 25 years later. That person still impacted me. You know what I mean? And when I train a kid that's 14 years old, I tell myself in my head, this kid's going to remember me. Like, when he's in his 40s working out, he'll be like, I remember my first trainer. He taught me how to do this and all that. So I always remember that feeling. And I'm like, I try to, you know what I mean? Put it on somebody like that.
And all this because of that person impacting you. Tell me about you growing up. Did you also had good role models as far as making sure? I mean, I can tell you're very courteous, very friendly. Did you have any other examples aside from that?
My parents were really hard workers. We never had like businesses, but big time businesses, but they would be selling used refrigerators, used washing machines, steel drums for water for people in Juarez. And they were always a team. My parents, it wasn't like machista or my mom. It was always a team. And I grew up, and my wife and I were a team like that too. You know, we complement each other. And just seeing that example with my parents, you know what I mean? Like, really, like, I brought this to my marriage. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's really... Now, talking about now the business mindset, there's a lot of trainers, of course. And what made you want to become an actual gym owner? Now, you mentioned that maybe you saw things that you didn't like that you wanted to implement. However, that mindset, I mean, you can fix that, but that owning a gym, it takes it to another level, right? So did you always, because of your parents, kind of like had this business mindset of, you know what, I'm going to open it,
Yes.
I'll be successful? Is that what it was?
You know what? I tell this story to my wife. When I was doing the 9-to-5 job, you know, without realizing, I don't know if it happened to you and your parents, but without realizing it, you feel like your parents trained you for being your own business owner without realizing it. Because I remember that I was a 9-to-5 and I was just doing, my whole life consisted of looking at bank contracts, making sure which bank it was and what requirements it needed. If not, I would call a customer, hey, you need to bring your driver license. It's like babysitting. And I was just like, I'm not doing anything with this. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's really neat how you were able to not only like bring in your passion, but also because to open up a business, you have to trust in yourself. You need to have an idea of what you want, and again, that trust and confidence in yourself has to be on top, right? So, talk to me about your first gym. I know you opened your first gym after how many years training as in regular gyms?
You know which? I was gonna tell you a story too. One of my friends back then, when I was personal training, I was doing that was after I left my 9-to-5 job. He told me I was about to buy my first BMW. I had a little Sentra, and I was like, I'm gonna get a 3 Series BMW. I was about to buy it, and then my friend was at the gym, and he told me, before you buy it, read this book. And I'm like, I don't read books, bro. Sorry. And he's like, well, will you listen to it if I buy it for you? And I'm like, I guess. All right. So the first book that I read was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever read it.
Yes, sir.
But I was like, I got it and I started listening to it, and I brought my girlfriend at the time, and we're like, we're gonna sit on it. You're gonna sit here and you're gonna listen to this book, both of us.
How old were you again?
Like 27, huh? 27 is when I got the hang of it. And she was 20. What?
28.
Yeah, 28. She was 20, and that's when we started getting into it. We started getting addicted to the self-help books. Like, we would go to Phoenix, read a book on the way over there, on audiobook, discuss it. On the way back, read another audiobook. But we just like started reading from good to great, all the Malcolm Gladwell books, just a bunch of stuff, huh?
Let me ask you this, and this is because I noticed this with friends and personal life. First of all, that friend that told you about that book, and not only that, because you told me, you know what, I don't read books. Hey, if I buy it to you, kudos to that friend. To be honest with you, I mean, you right now you're just sharing that story. But as I'm thinking, like, do I have friends like that? First of all, with a different mindset that, hey, maybe I can give you some advice, but at the same time, hey, this is that important for you to like that you're gonna get value from that. So again, that just talks about that relationship that you had even back then. So,
but you know what happens too when you start doing stuff, right? You start meeting different people, and it's crazy how they all have read the same books. You start reading more people, and you start getting more attracted to that, and leaving your old drinking buddies out. You know, then they're still doing the same thing at 40 years old.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
It's very interesting that you're talking about this, because I mean that's something that I also realized. It's been a while, but I'll be quite honest with you. My parents like didn't have that mindset. For us, it was just 8-to-5. It's okay as long as you do good, as long as you're the best at your job, you're good. And that's when, like, after many years, you're like, okay, I get it. I'm good, and I'm making good money. But then what's next, right? Yeah. Am I going to retire at 65 and enjoy those years? And that's kind of like when you read now, when you incorporate those type of books, you're like, oh, okay, so it's not only me thinking about it, but there's other people, and there's kind of like a path, right? Not that we're inventing something new, but there's already people doing it. My question that I have for you, Shane, and this is something that all of us, when we read a new book, or all of us have that initial motivation of, yes, right now it's really good, especially when people just start working out, they see Instagram pictures or a movie or something, and they say, yeah, that's it. And they're super motivated, and they start, right? And the same works for books or self-improvement. How were you able to not only like leave it at that or just be motivated for a couple of years, But you can tell that right now that's something that you consistently, that's the same way that you have, that mindset that you continue having that mindset. How have you been able to do that?
First of all, you have to find something that's your passion, because I've seen people try to copy what I'm doing, and after a couple of years, you stop hearing them, the business goes down or whatever. But I feel like when you're passionate about something, you find ways to improve it. You keep on improving it. And I've read a lot of cool faith-based books where they teach you how you have to run your own race. Don't worry about everybody else. Run your own race. Worry about yourself. Be positive. Help people out. It's like Christian karma. It'll come back to you. You know what I mean? Like, how you were like telling me about the Cinta de Oro and all that? Well, all our lives, we've always helped out other businesses with whatever we can, promoting it. Of course, we don't just promote anybody, but if we know that it's a respectable business, that we know that we could put our name on it, why not? Like he's like, can I leave posters at your gym? Yes. Anybody we never say no to anybody. And it always comes back to you, If you guys have a chance, read an author, Dr. Joe Vitale.
Which book is that? Or
he
just
has, all his books are amazing. He talks about a story about how one time he took a different route to work, right? On his route to work, he stopped by at a little deli. He was like, oh, wow, this is a cool deli. He got in there. He's Italian. He said, I had the most delicious Italian sandwich I had ever had since I was in Italy. It brought back memories. So he says that he went back to his office and he started printing out some menus for the guy, because he had you could tell that he was not advanced technologically. So he printed out some menus, right? He put them on the wall at the lunchroom. And he said that the next day that he went, that restaurant was packed. That when he first went, it was like one person. But the next time that he went, it was packed, that the owner came and he told him, you know what, you don't pay for anything anymore. Because thank you so much for everything you did. So the whole book, the author explains to you like how that's always good for you. He says, look how it came back to me. He says that years later, right, him and his wife needed to get a house, but they had gone through some type of financial trouble or something that they couldn't get credit for a house. So the owner of that restaurant, financed the house to him. His old house that he had, he financed it to him. So he says we didn't even have to get credit or nothing. How it came back to him 10 years later.
Well, and that obviously you're doing right now with me. Is that something that is that the biggest factor that you attribute to your success in both in business and also your personal life? What other factors do you also count on?
God's always been with us. Every day we pray on our way to work. I pray around the gym. I read a lot of faith-based books, and sometimes, like I was telling my daughter, because my daughter is going through this emo stage. She's 14 years old, and she's like, "How do you believe in God? How do you know it's God?" And I tell her, all could tell you 20 stories of my life. And I could tell you could tell me right now, that's a coincidence. That's a coincidence. There's too many coincidences to have that. I tell them, it's God. It can't be just a coincidence. You know what I mean? Wow. I could tell you last week what happened to us with that check from Wells Fargo. Yeah. I worked in the car business for 3 years. And I have never seen a company refund you a check for your car. You know what I mean? Like, you pay off the car. Sometimes you'll get like a $50 porque pagaste the bank, you paid a little bit more.
Maybe because of the interest, because of the set payment that you had. Okay,
so we got a check in the mail for $800, huh?
What?
You're like, who gets checks $800 in the mail?
And our electric bill was $800.
The electric bill was $800.
Really?
Because we had gotten the electric bill, and I told Lizzie, wow, $800? Because we weren't used to it, because there's not refrigerated air at the gym. So we're like, no, pues ni modo, it's a bigger building. We just have to take it,
Yeah.
And then we opened that check, $800.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
It's so funny that I have to share this story. I have a full-time job aside from the hair salon, by the way. So I was at work, and I picked up the mail during lunch or break. I don't remember what it was. Maybe during work hours. Don't say anything. But I get the mail once every 3 weeks, whatever it is, right? And then I was looking through my mail, and then I got a bill from the electric company. I'm like, okay, let's see. Well, because I get the hair salon and I get for my house. I'm like, okay, let's see how much it is, because of now, let me see. Well, let me just see how much it is so I can pay it. And it was a check for $400, my original deposit on the when I first set up. I think it's a year and a couple months, and they'll return that deposit. I'm like, oh, that's pretty nice. Wow, you're talking about that, like. Wait a second, I also got a check just today, right?
That's good, man.
I want to talk a little bit about that mindset piece, because I think that's key. Like I was telling you, we haven't met before. This is the first time that we interact aside from messaging, but I'll share with you guys that I'm a very private person, even though I'm not shy at all. But I tend to post on my social media like once every 3 months, maybe, right? Not because I'm shy, it's just I'm a private person, whatever it is, right? But then when I had this idea, like I graduated from marketing and advertising, you tell me like, you know what, I'm not promoting my brand. I have very specific goals, 5-year goal, 10-year goal. And you know what, I am not following what I know that I should be following because of many different reasons, right? One of them, again, once I put myself out there, like I'm out there, right? Like even if I delete it, it's out there, so whatever, and it's always gonna be there. So like, oh, and then imagine at first no one's gonna watch my videos. It's gonna be, I'm not doing it for that, but then I also wanna see if it's only 2 videos, I'll be like, 2 views, I'll be like, oh. But then you're talking about mindset, and that's when little by little, like, hey, why are you doing this, right? And if you really have a purpose, you know what, everything else will fall in place later on. And I really think so. So now that you said that, I mean, that's exactly what, it just kind of reinforces the way I've been thinking. So I just want to, again, I appreciate you for saying that. And again, you're proof again that you're.
You know what? There was what was it, like a movie that we saw about the guy who, or it was a video on YouTube maybe, but it was a guy who invented likes, and he says, my vision was to spread love. It wasn't to traumatize little kids and how come I didn't get likes or how come I didn't get views. It wasn't meant for that. And it's amazing how people get it like that, huh? I was talking to one of my wife's clients. She's a teacher. Yeah, she's a little chubby and she's so cute, you know. And she's always posting so much cool stuff about her dogs, about her cats. She made a pool outside of her in her house. It's the kiddies pool, and she was like taking pictures in the summer. And I was telling her last time, you know that I'm one of your fans, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Yeah, I look forward to your posts, like to see what you're doing." And she was like surprised. And I tell her, it's because you don't know who you're inspiring. Like we had talked about it earlier. And she tells me sometimes that teachers tell her, hey, I started working out because I started seeing your posts. And I tell her, look, like, and you should see her. I mean, it's not like she gets 1,000 views, you know, but she's so fun to look at. And you shouldn't be worried about that, you know. Like you said, you would be surprised how many people you impact.
They have to, and you're absolutely right. As far as I consider myself to have very high self-esteem, so it's not about what are they gonna think about me. It's just putting yourself out there, right? Kind of like that. What's gonna happen? My first language is not English, right? I was born also in Mexico, so like, okay. But I also know that I need to improve my communication skills. So like. Guess what? This is what it is, you know? So yesterday I was talking to a friend. I was letting him know when I first started this, it's been a couple months already. He actually came. We had a conversation. We kind of were testing equipment. And then yesterday I told him, you know what? I actually have Shane and Lizzie MARTINEZ that they're going to come and they're going to do it. And then he replies and said, oh, you know what? Well, congrats. I didn't think you were going to do it.
Wow.
And I was like, and even though it was like very, I mean, it was just a comment he made, but it made me think like, why? Because one of the reasons why my self-esteem is very high is because every time I say I'm going to do something, I try my best to do it, right? So by him saying that, like, oh, I wonder, like,
what made him say that?
What made him say that, you know? Not maybe that it hurt me, but...
Maybe he's known people that have said that and not done it. You know what I mean? He didn't mean it to hurt you.
Yeah, no, of course. And that's kind of like the biggest challenge. I want to talk about that as well with you. That, like you said, that you... Not that I want to leave my friend. This is a really good friend. And he's really good when it comes to, like, trust and confidence and helping me out. But how were you able to make that transition to little by little kind of like... kind of maybe like start talking to maybe not another group of friends, but maybe knowing that, you know what, maybe this type of people, I should just focus on the ones that bring value to my life. How was that process?
So, you know what, subconsciously you do, but the more you read books too, it tells you to surround yourself by people that you look up to, stuff like that. And being a personal trainer, I've been blessed to have a lot of successful business owners. I train millionaires, you know, and people, they want to help you out. You know what I mean? They want to help you out. It's amazing. Like, I wouldn't read self-help books because I was like, I'm so sure a millionaire's going to write a book and tell you how to be rich. I'm so sure it's going to happen, you know? Yeah. But the more that you meet people that are wealthy, they want to help you, you know? Like,
y cuando te va bien, you do want to help, just like you're
exactly,
saying.
Exactly.
Wow. I want to go back a little bit to your training days when you got that motivation. Tell me about the first gym you opened. I know that you closed down. I was listening to a podcast that Lizzie did, and she was telling about the process of you working towards opening that gym and then having to close it. What were the biggest lessons you learned from that experience?
Yes. The best advice is keep your overhead low. You know, sometimes I remember that the first rent that we had was $3,000. And we were outgrowing it, you know. So I told my wife, let's go to a shopping center. So we went to a shopping center here in town, and it was one of the biggest mistakes. You know, towards the end of the lease, we were paying $8,000 a month. Wow. You know, our electric bill was, one summer it was $1,600 a month because we had to refrigerate air, and our trainers used to want to refrigerate air all El Paso by leaving the door open, you know, and you learn your lesson. Like, nobody teaches you how to be a business owner unless you had parents that had businesses, you know. So you kind of like deal with it, the fregazos as you go, you know. And the more I've been reading too, it says that you learn more by doing that than in the classroom. Like, you know how they say these millennials, after 1 year, they want to open their own business, and they fall on their face, but guess what? That's a lesson that they wouldn't learn anywhere else. And that's what we've been doing. We've been learning. We're still learning stuff, right? Just serve your customers, whatever business you do, serve. You know, the Bible teaches us to serve each other. And I read a book that said, even if you don't believe in the Bible, if you follow all the principles, you'll be a good business owner. You know what I mean?
And that makes a lot of sense. Now, did you get discouraged, though, when you had to close down? Did you say, you know what, maybe I can go back to trainer, to becoming like a regular trainer? And what is it that made you kind of like, okay, wait a second, let's go back to the original goal? What made you go back to that?
You know what? My wife was like 100% everything. It's amazing how, it's what I tell my friends. Sometimes we talk about that, like gym, you know, guy talk. And they're like, look at her, this and that. I'm like, bro, you know what? When you've been with somebody that has been with you when there's $1,000 negative in your bank account for months that you can't sleep because you don't know how to pay the bills, you're not going to lose that trust by sleeping with a girl, like whatever, you know. It's when you find somebody that you can trust like that. Oh my God, like it's amazing, you know. And my wife has always been, even when we opened our first gym, she told me, you know what, just me and you, we'll be the only trainers. We don't need anybody else. And we started it. After that, when we moved, and then, pues, yeah, you just learn your lesson. Like, we went back to a warehouse gym, like you saw, with half the rent that we were paying, and super overhead, super low.
Wow. I want to spend some time talking about your wife. For anyone following you, it's extremely evident that you respect, you admire, you love your wife. So I really want to talk about that. When I was hearing that podcast that she did, she talked about kind of like when you guys both were trainers, that you guys were saving money to buy equipment and buy your own equipment, right? And I thought to myself, wow, even though, again, it sounds, maybe you guys don't realize, but like, we're those people, you know, we're the girls that like that really focus on that. Doesn't matter if I don't have the expensive things. We have a goal, and this is what we're doing. And again, everyone has that initial motivation, but able to keep it. So when did you know that she was the one for you?
I guess, you know what, she was younger than me, and I was already focused on what I wanted with my life. And she would tell me, like, she was still wanting to go out to nightclubs or whatever, bars. And I was like, you know what, I'm done with that. And she was like, well, I'm not done. It's not fair. I went out already. You went out already, and I haven't. And I'm like, well, if you want to go out, you go out by yourself, but I'm not going to be here waiting for you. I'm like, if you want to be with me, you have to be on my same page. I'm done with that.
And this was at the beginning of your relationship?
Yeah.
Wow.
At the beginning of the relationship, and she was like, no, yes, let's do it. And I told her, you want to be with somebody that's going to work hard, be loyal to you, treat you like a princess, or you're going to be with a kid that's going to cheat on you every weekend to the nightclubs. So you choose. And she was like, no, I choose you. And after that, we just...
Wow. And I have so many follow-up questions as far as like, I'm sure that down the line you guys had kind of like, again, when maybe the first business did not work out or your first gym, kind of like how was she able to guide you and help you with, hey, you know what, we still have this long-term goal, let's continue at it, instead of maybe, again, losing focus, losing that motivation and doing something else.
You know what, just having that little, I believe in you, it's amazing. You know, even she didn't know anything about business. She didn't know anything about, I guess she was barely starting to be a personal trainer. I had like 8 years of experience more than her. But just having that somebody believe in you, having that parent telling you like you can do it. It's amazing how just having that belief will catapult you, you know?
Nice. So, following up with the conversation with your wife, what is some advice or how is it that you guys are able to work together? Of course, you spend 10 hours at the gym, I don't know how many hours, and then after the gym and still have that really nice, that really good relationship that you guys have.
You know what? You see your significant other as your teammate and serving each other. You serve each other like crazy. Like if I have a tombstone, you put serve each other, because if I go downstairs, hey baby, do you want something to drink? And she's upstairs. Hey baby, do you need something this? And she's at the gym. Baby, did you drink your shake today? Just having that relationship with the other person, that serving attitude, makes a big difference.
Since day one, were you like this, or did it kind of like, did it take a while?
I think we were like that since the beginning.
Yeah, we worked at it as we went on.
Wow. No, well, congratulations again. To be honest with you, it's evident on both of you when I follow you. It's like, you know what, you can tell when someone's like promoting an agenda, promoting something, but no, like the respect is there, the love, the admiration, that you're in love with your wife, not only love your wife, so it makes a difference. I definitely want to talk about that. I do have many questions for your wife later on.
And the cultures are different. It was challenging. The cultures are so different. Like she had to win over my Mexican mom. She was like, you know what I mean?
Was her family okay with you?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at surprised because at that point you were a trainer.
Yeah.
And since you had a job, I'm thinking like maybe they wanted someone more stable.
Yeah. No, her parents were very low maintenance. I think Hispanic parents are harder to please.
And they believed in you right away as well.
Yes.
How many months did you guys date before getting married?
2 years.
2 years?
2 years dating, 2 years engaged.
Yeah. 2 years dating, 2 years engaged.
And how long have you guys been married already?
10 years?
8 years.
8 years.
Wow. Okay. All right. All right. Let's talk a little bit about going back to your gym right now. Just to give some context, this is. Tell me about the first shutdown. How you guys were able to deal with that? I'll tell you from my side. When we first shut down, we thought it was gonna be 2 weeks, and then I was thinking to myself, "Oh, a little vacation from work, so it's gonna be great." I didn't know it was gonna take 2.5 months. Tell me about the process. How is it that you guys were able to keep up the gym closed for so long, and what was the hardest part about it?
Man, that's a really good question. I remember that when the shutdown happened, when we knew it was gonna take longer, we sat down. And the first thing we thought about was, let's look at what other gyms are doing. And I said, no, we're not.
Wow.
Let's do our own thing. I told her, let's do our own thing. Let's come up with something. So we had started thinking about doing FaceTime sessions with our clients. And then somebody told us about Zoom. That Zoom teachers were using it, this and that. So boom, we started getting all our clients. We told them, you know what, go get all the weights from the gym. So people were driving to the gym and picking up dumbbells, weights, and they were mostly our personal training clients.
So instead of buying their own equipment, no, we have equipment over here, take it home.
We wrote everything down. All the clients, what they took, everything. They were super grateful. We started training them online on their living room. And we did that all the time, we just started getting innovative with the gym. Also, we started doing classes in the morning and the afternoon. For example, we would do chest with Esteban in the morning at 8 a.m., followed by a 9 a.m. stretch class with Marlene. And then at night, for people that can't work out in the morning, 6 p.m. Arms with Shane, 7 p.m. Science with Neil, one of our trainers that's super smart, pre-med,
Wow.
So we just started coming up with cool classes like that. We started getting following even from other people on Facebook Live. Yeah. And we started getting following from other gyms. Our social media grew. We were one of the first ones who did that. I started getting on social media and I started telling trainers, if you guys haven't gotten on Zoom, get on it now. You know what I mean? I was just telling people, helping them out. But yeah, it was hard, but we managed to do it. We have over 800 members. We did have cancellations. 70% of the members told us to keep it. Don't worry about it. Keep up the membership. Why? Because I feel when it's a locally owned business, the people, the owner, the people there see the owner all the time. That me and my wife always walk around saying hi to everybody, making sure it's a good atmosphere. I think when people see that, they have more feeling towards the owner.
Right. You know what I mean? And I think you answered my next question as far as it's more than evident that you guys have set up. It's not customer, it's a community. Aside from the things that you talked about, what else have you guys done to ensure that everyone feels like it's a family?
We try to encourage positive talk with the trainers. I told them, even if it's not your client, pump them up, positivity, respect at the gym too. Like if you notice, if you have your girlfriend working out at the gym, you're not going to see a guy checking her out. It's amazing. Like, that's what I told my wife last week. I was telling her that even if a girl's doing, like, booty kicks where their booty all in the air, you'll see an open gym member go like this and then go back like that. Like, you don't see them go like this.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I've had trainers that have worked out at other gyms. I won't say the names, but, like, there was a girl that says, you know what? I go to each machine and the guy follows me around. Or other guys following me. You know what I mean? I'm like, I tell my wife. Or we'll see a girl doing some booty thrust or stuff, and I'm like, oh, that girl could not be doing that at that gym. You know what I mean? Se la comen viva.
Right, and that's because of that community sense that you have built since the beginning, that's the way you guys are running your community, your gym, so everyone respects us, of course, and of course the people that you have, I mean, you can tell that everyone's involved.
You learn from other, I've always had the mind, like, you learn from everybody, you never stop learning. I learned a lot from the whole CrossFit community, because CrossFit, are you familiar with CrossFit?
Yes.
Yeah, so CrossFit is a community.
I failed.
It's a community. They hang out on the weekends, you know? And I remember that I would tell my wife, that's what I want to create at our gym. I want to create that, you know, positivity. That I even have a commercial that we did, that our gym is different. Because when you don't show up, they call you. I'll send you the video. It's pretty cool. And
it's different because you're trying different things, but it's not something that you're faking. You and your wife, you can tell, because everyone, I mean, from watching from reading books or watching motivational podcasts, of course I can, again, for that moment, try to, hey, we're different, we care about you. But then, again, you guys, this is something that you make sure that you follow up on a daily basis. And not because you have to, but because that's the way you are, and your wife as well. So that's been very neat. Senor, let me ask you this. What has been your biggest accomplishment looking back in your personal life and in your business life?
Personal accomplishment, I guess going to college, being the first person in my family to go to college. In family or business?
It's up to you. Both, if you can.
Plus, I guess business, being a business owner with over 900 members. Never in my life did I imagine I was going to have something, an 18,000 square foot gym, you know? And I guess a good accomplishment that I just came to mind was that we didn't finance anything. Like, we bought everything cash. You know, we read that book, That Rich Dad Poor Dad, like you said in the beginning, that for 8 months, we ate ramen noodles, Redbox, remember Redbox? We would save $1,000 a month. So we saved $8,000. We started buying used gym equipment, you know, on Craigslist. And boom, we started with our gym and just customer service and cleanliness. And every time we get more money, we put it back in, buy another machine and another machine. So one of the biggest accomplishments that I could say is that we never asked for loans, never asked for money. Everything was paid cash, you know.
And with that, I can also say that, do you consider yourself maybe that that believing yourself, obviously from your wife as well, believing in both of you, the goal that you guys had, I mean, do you see that as an accomplishment as well?
Oh, yeah, sure. It's a blessing.
Let's talk a little bit about the second shutdown, sir, before I let you go. Talk to me about, well, you never had a second shutdown. Let's talk about, because I did for 3 weeks. You guys been around doing interviews. I was reading one for the El Paso Times that you guys did, and you guys had a lot of supporters, again, from people outside your community, but you also had a lot of detractors, right? Yeah. And I was reading some of the comments, I'm like, oh, those are kind of harsh. So before I let you go, what are your thoughts on that? What is kind of like, now that you have, I know you had you recently had your own podcast about kind of like how the gym is essential, and you kind of like give your take on that. But do you mind sharing with me again, what is your take on those detractors? What is it that maybe they didn't understand that maybe you would like to explain, as far as why is it that you guys chose to leave it open?
You know what? When you're in the gym or when you're in a business, you see the customers, the clients, and you see how it impacts the business, impacts a person. We have soldiers. We have telling us that they have PTSD, that they have had members saying that they were alcoholics, and the gym is something that they escaped. So you start seeing all these little stories, and that's part of your motivation to stay open, you know. I thought the second shutdown, I was like, oh, thank God, 2 weeks. I'm gonna be able to sleep. I'm not gonna have to get up at 3:30. And my wife's like, we're not shutting down. And I'm like,
it was your wife's idea. Okay.
Yeah, she's like, we're not shutting down. Yeah, she's the big. I tell her she's the boss. And I was like, we're not shutting down. I was like, oh, okay.
Why not? Right?
I was like, I'm not gonna have to wake up at 3:30 anymore. But
what are your thoughts specifically on those people with those negative comments?
You know what? I always think of, my mind's always racing and things like that. I always try to find an excuse for somebody. I'm like, that person must be unhappy with their lives. Like, the owner of FitFam texted me, and he's like, do you know this profile? Right? And it was a screenshot of a page that was also making fun of me, and they were making fun of FitFam. And I told him, bro, ignore them. Ignore them. Everybody wants to be the next FitFam. Look, they have like 5 likes. I'm like, ignore them. And she's like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, I feel bad for somebody. Or even like at the stoplight last weekend, I was with my daughter, and the light turned green, and this lady just honks her horn, da da. And I tell my daughter, I was like, look, imagine how unhappy this lady is at 8 a.m. that 1 second on the green light, her world collapses. I'm like, imagine how bad her life is right now. You know what I mean? And that's what I do with people. I just tell myself, Lena, they must be unhappy.
Yeah, that's what it is. I let me share with you, as far as like, I kind of understand both sides, because both of them, I mean, like I told you, I have a full-time job that I'm working from home. So, of course, being at my house, bringing in checks, I mean, it's nice and everything, right? But also having the business, knowing that hairstylists depend on on it being open. And it's funny how everyone's saying, no, everything should shut down. Like, everyone's working from home. I have not heard, like, you know, let's shut down from a business. I didn't qualify for any of the grants, any of the loans, anything like that. So, like, I was able to, because of my job, still have the hair salon open. But it's funny, like you said, what you do is kind of like think about the other person, kind of like, you know, let's also think maybe what they're going through. But then the people that are quick to judge or quick to, oh no, you know what, they're just looking for money. Like, they don't know the other side, and they're never gonna know the other side, the full other side. But at least, like, hey, is there a reason why? Let's not jump to conclusions or to criticize that. Oh my God, they're just looking for money.
You know what? I feel like my wife is like getting like she wants to talk about this because she got attacked bad.
I do have really good questions.
You know what? We didn't get any help either. You know, I tell my friends, dude, if I was making the money I was making at home, I'd be like, take your time, dude. I'm gonna watch Game of Thrones again from season 1. You know what I mean? Take your time, whatever. But no, like, we weren't getting any help. We have bills to pay, like the electric bill and everything just got postponed. They didn't get, like, you know what I mean? It wasn't free, stuff like that. We had expenses, and some people, I mean, we know that it's a pandemic, and we know that it's sad that people are going through, but would you rather die of hunger? Like, we need to feed our families, we need to pay our stuff too, you know?
Yeah, and also from the list of hotspots, I mean, it's not even nowhere near like the supermarkets, everything else. And then kind of like the positive outweighs the negative big time. So definitely, I have a lot more questions for your wife, because I know she was kind of like the face of the gym. Let me just ask you 2 more questions, because I know you guys, again, it's a Friday night, by the way, and I'm sure you guys have better things to do than maybe being here. Senor, how do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? What are your short and long term goals?
You know what? I've read books that ask you that, and I've never really like think about it like that. I just go with the flow, and I've lived so peaceful like that. Whatever God puts in my head, in front of me, I'll take advantage of it. Every opportunity that it gives me, I take advantage of it. And I don't know, I just live happily and peaceful like that.
Wow, I'm very surprised to hear that, and let me tell you why. I heard this, and it makes sense. I consider myself a really happy person, and when I think about why, it's because I always have a goal. And like this right now, like the fact that I can't sleep thinking about it, or I wake up thinking about that makes me so happy. And you saying kind of like, you know what, I don't have plans. Of course, you have things that you have to accomplish and do. But you know what, I'm just happy like this. Like, oh, that's a good take on it. I wonder, like, why? Or, I mean, that's a whole mindset thing. But I just wanted to share that with you. That's kind of good to hear. So thank you for that. Let me ask you the last question that I have for you, sir. And this is more for kind of like our community. What is one thing that you love about El Paso, and one thing that maybe, let's not call that you dislike, but maybe that you would like to improve?
I'll start with dislike.
Okay.
No, I guess.
Let me just say, aside from food.
Oh yeah.
What is it that you like, and then kind of like something that you dislike or want to improve?
Okay, something that I dislike about our city is that, I mean, hopefully it's already going away, but our prices are not nearly as high as other cities. You know, we have friends that are trainers in other cities, and they make $80 an hour, and we give, I could tell you right now, 3 times better service than them. Like, I text my clients, send me your meals for the day. What are you eating? They text me, message me their meals. I'm at their 24 hours. They call me. I'm not motivated. You know, like, we go above and beyond the person. So over the years, we've had to adjust our prices. We've had to adjust our whole gym, our business model. Right now, we have our gym that we charge $20 a month. And anybody else that you add extra is only $10. And myself, I'm like, I would pay $40.
Like the quality of it.
Yeah, I would pay $35, $40. You know, we have towels for our members. We have showers. We have cleaning crews. We have above and beyond, you know, facility, but we cannot charge what other cities charge. And I have a friend of mine that's a hair salon, as a hairstylist, right? And he goes to Houston once a month. And I tell him, why do you go to Houston once a month? He's like, Shane, in one weekend, I make more money than the whole month in El Paso.
Wow.
And he's like, and I tell him, but you're not scared? Like when I go to Houston, you go to Starbucks and there's Lamborghinis outside. And he's like, no. He's like, Shane, if you make a business work in El Paso, you can make it work anywhere. And I tell him, what do you mean? And he's like, yeah, look, in Houston, there's so much money that all the hairstylists are lazy. Like, they don't promote themselves. They don't do anything. In El Paso, you have to be on it. You have to be promoting like you're doing with a salon. If you don't do that, you won't survive. Well, guess what? In other cities, they don't do that. You know what I mean? But that's what's something that I prayed that El Paso gets out of that.
Before you tell me what you love about El Paso, let me ask you, you don't think that compensates kind of like the cost of mm-hmm. trainers or maybe other services with our mm-hmm. cost of living?
You know what? Yes. Yes and no, because San Antonio is almost the same as us as far as cost. I mean, you can go as expensive as you want. Mm-hmm. But I've had friends that are in other cities that tell me that, no, it just depends what you want to do, you know? Yeah.
Well, I don't even want to tell you what we charge in the hair salon. Every hairstylist has at least 15 years of experience. I won't tell you the price, but it's really low, right? Uh-huh. But then I have also friends that have that mindset that, hey, I even guarantee the quality. If you don't like it for some reason, you get your money back. Just like that. That's how much trust we have. Uh-huh. You know how much? Well, you know how many people have kind of like asked for a refund? 0.
Wow.
Yeah, just like that. Sometimes when maybe at the beginning we had some issues that someone was not complaining about the quality but other stuff, mm-hmm. you know what, here's your money. Like, of course you're welcome, but I also want you to make sure that customer service.
We do the same thing. When they want to cancel, I tell my wife, just don't charge it, because we have a $50 cancellation. Mm-hmm. I'm like, just don't charge them. I'm like, they don't want to be here. They're not gonna be.
It's just a mindset thing, right? And then like I get my let me tell you right now, the haircut for men and kids, it's $10.
It's nothing.
I have courtesy drinks, not the cheap drinks. It's Michelob Ultra. Wow. I don't even have Bud Light. Yeah. You know, in the hairstylist me dicen, hey, how come? Like, mm-hmm. you shouldn't be. Hey, ¿sabes qué? It's an investment. Yeah. It's an investment. It's gonna pay. It's the same mm-hmm. as marketing, right? Mm-hmm. And why is it that I don't have Bud Light? I have Michelob Ultra because I don't like Bud Light. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna give something that I don't like just because it's cheap, right? Yeah. Now I also have to learn from that, because then, are you profitable? You're not. How much is your mm-hmm. cost? Can I maybe charge a little more? Maybe we used to charge less than that, by the way. So definitely a conversation that hopefully we can follow up, me and you. But Shane, I just want to thank you for your time again. I will forever be grateful. The fact of you answering me and then we just setting it up, you being here on a Friday night. I know that you guys wake up very early. I know you guys work a lot, and you by saying yes, you know what? Let's help you out. You know, without even knowing you properly, that just talks volume about you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Lizzie's gonna